has to happen. So that's it. We're recording. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Thank you for those who are attending. I see 3 select board members, so we have a quorum. Are there any announcements?
I did not text Paul Lowe. I did text Mary Kate. Haven't gotten a response yet.
I see Paul Lowe right now.
Ah, okay.
He's even got his glasses on, so it's official.
Hold on, I don't see him. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, he's coming.
Oh, there we go. Oh, Jamie Schulte's too. I see Jamie.
Yep. Okay. So, are there any announcements? I don't think I have any. We did get a letter from the dog park folks. There was a discussion. We got a letter sort of forwarded to us from the dog park. They may have some issues regarding archaeology and stuff that I think they've pushed to the dog park people, and they'll be working that out. Regular business. I think our first piece of regular business is to approve the minutes. I can bring some minutes over if anybody needs to see them. I think 2 things about the minutes. My understanding is from that we don't have to do roll call votes unless the votes are not unanimous.
That's correct.
We'll change our procedure. Under public comment, I will note, John, that I think Deb Gaynor sent around the easement for Morse Park.
That was that for the 323 meeting, or was that since then?
That was since then. It was
so
just
since then, it's not part of these minutes.
No,
you
it's
just
not.
wanted to see it.
No,
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sure.
I thought you were talking about a change I needed to make to the.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Are there any edits that people would like to make? I guess I would entertain a motion to approve as written.
So
This is
moved.
John. Oh, Bill, did you move?
I did.
I'll second. This is John.
All right. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And abstentions. All right, so those passed unanimously. I'll get rid of those. Go back over here. The check warrants we've already done. We do those sort of electronically, although they're going to be included in the minutes.
We have never included them in the minutes in the past.
Which the check
actual, you're
warrant.
talking about the actual warrants or just mentioning the numbers?
Just mentioning the numbers.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes, I've already got them, and they're in there.
Okay.
Yep. Review and approve overweight permits. I gather that we're still waiting for Sharon to give us the actual overweight permits that you signed, Bill?
Correct. Yeah. She does copy them all before she sends them back to the sheriff.
Okay.
I sent her an email this afternoon asking her for them as well.
Okay, that's great. Good. Is there any public comment? I see a bunch of people who are not normal attendees to select board meetings. Anybody public comment? Okay.
No, I have a question. Can I ask a quick question? Paul, were you on when they did the minutes?
No, I was not on.
Okay, you just came on then? Okay.
I came on just immediately after the minutes were finished.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So let's see, liquor license. We have a couple of liquor licensees. These generally are not a big deal. This is the one from Yates Family Orchard.
Do you want a motion or
I do.
hold
move
on.
to approve the liquor license renewal application for Yates Family Orchard? This is John.
Second.
second it.
Okay.
And is there any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And opposed? And abstentions? All right, thank you.
So there's still no Mary Kate, is that correct?
No, Mary Kate was
She's
here.
here.
Why am I not seeing everybody?
You might have to click that right arrow to scroll over to the other pictures since they won't all fit on the screen.
Oh. I want to see everybody. How does that work?
There's a little up above all the figures. There's 4 little buttons. There's a hide thumbnail video,
Yeah.
show small active speakers, show thumbnail video, and then there's a gallery. I'm currently looking at the gallery on my second screen so I can see everybody.
All right, I'll figure it out.
All right.
So wait, so for the minutes, who was there for the minutes that were voted on?
John
Mary
was
Kate,
here.
were you there?
We lost Mary Kate.
Okay.
We can sort it out offline.
All right, perfect.
This is a liquor license for Alderman.
Did we vote on the liquor license on the first one?
Sorry, we did not.
No.
No, I apologize. I'm ahead of myself. All those in favor of approving the liquor license for Yates Orchard, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And abstentions? All right. The next item on the agenda is the liquor license renewal for SD Alderman. This is the Moncton General Store, or what there is of it. Is there anything of interest here?
So moved.
All right. There's a motion to approve the liquor license on the table. Is there a
This is
second?
John. This is John. I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? So let me see how these work here. I think Bill, you're going to have to help us with these, are you not?
I'll send them around in the morning for everyone's signatures.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, back to the question at hand. All those in favor of approving the liquor license renewal for Alderman, SD Alderman, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And abstentions? Hi, Mary Kate.
If she just came back in, it may take her a bit to get audio.
Yeah, that's
and
okay.
running.
Yeah, I'm having trouble.
Oh, we hear you now.
All right, thanks.
Good. All right. Let me pull this off so I can see what the heck is on the agenda for next. Next is we just have to notice that we received this. This is this is some of the stuff that's coming to us as part of the bond application for a bond for the new town offices and library. Apparently, this is actually a document that's supposed to be sent by the treasurer to the select board every year on or before June 30th. It's an internal financial controls checklist. There's a statute. In any case, our duties are not to make any suggestions more than just to notice that we received them, signed that we have
So
received
do you
those.
you need a motion to approve? It looks like just one person is actually physically signing it, or
Yeah, I think we do need a motion to approve.
move to approve the internal financial controls checklist.
Second.
Thank you. All those, is there any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And opposed and abstentions. I'm going to have a lot of offline signing to do here at the end of this meeting. All right, let's see where we are now. Remote meeting policy. By the time we get done with this, it may not matter anymore, which would be fine with me. So we've been working on this for just one meeting, so it's not that big a deal. But I don't know. Sorry, I don't mean to make you guys seasick. John, I think I incorporated most of your ads, but maybe not all. Do you know? You can read to your screen, or I sent it to you as a digital
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah. The one I looked at one you sent and did the thing about allowing putting some limit on gifts rather than just saying none. Did that go in?
No, this is not the procurement policy. This is the remote meeting policy.
Oh, remote meeting policy.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, so my main concerns was the original one had a requirement of both video and telephone.
Yes.
And that just wanted to say, I think the feds said telephone where feasible, and I think that's one of the changes you made. I just didn't want to force everybody to cancel meetings because, if there's a technical glitch and Zoom didn't have telephone capacity available or something, you wouldn't have to cancel a meeting. So
Yeah. I mean, I have. I'm sorry. Please.
Yeah, so in one, I think the statute's less onerous than what we have in one. Because
Yeah.
the statute, which we can have, but, the statute just says that you have to have public access, public can attend electronically or by other means, and then telephone if feasible. But, we have sort of listed that they must use technology that permits the public at a minimum, or including internet, enabled devices, phones, landlines. It's just more specific, which is fine.
Yeah, the issue for me, and I think it'll come up when we discuss the DRB some, is how do you, especially, there may be different classes of meetings for starters. For hearings, which is what the DRB is doing, if somebody can't attend that hearing, and can't give meaningful input, I think that they, to some extent that impinges on the validity of that meeting.
Yeah, I guess. how is
No
that any
more
different?
so than if someone doesn't attend a meeting when it's a public meeting, right? There's limitations to people coming to the town hall to testify.
Yeah, if you don't have a car, you might not make it.
Yeah, so, there are going to be limitations to people attending public, through an electronic means, but one would think, at least by phone, we should be able to get everybody who can.
Can I add something to that?
Please.
my problem with doing it by phone is that people calling in cannot see any of the documents. Like
Right.
Curtis right now cannot see what you guys are talking about. And that could be an issue at DRB.
So,
And to add on, I know that's Betsy.
Yeah, sorry.
And I'm assuming the other lady is Mary Kate. Being I have no visual, John, every time he made a comment, said, "This is John."
yep.
Oh,
I don't even know who's speaking. It could be a board member and it could be an audience member. And this is Curtis.
Yeah.
So
Curtis, thank you.
that's one concern. And the other concern that strikes me on the DRB end is the way the information is supposed to be available to the public so many days in advance. And from the point that meetings have started happening for zoning, people have been able to go to the town hall to get that information. And, now the town hall being closed for good reason, it limits one of the easiest ways to get that information.
And it's not just abutting landowners that look at that information either. It's other people, especially for the town hall, when that one that's coming up. It's going to be more than just the abutting landowners looking at that.
This is Mary Kate. I think some of it's addressed in the policy that, documents are supposed to be available prior to the meeting. In terms of not being able to get documents, that's a whole separate question. And to some extent, that's also in terms of giving the DRB some discretion to, not go forward if there are circumstances where they can't get documents. I believe you can still get documents from town hall. You just can't go in and get them yourself.
I think that's also why the state's requirement is that where feasible, public access must be allowed by telephone. Yes, you can get documents ahead of time if we have them, but that also allows the chair or somebody to say, look, it's just not feasible. You need electronic access to this, and we'll display them on the screen, or we'll email them to you, or whatever. The state's policy gives some discretion in how you approach that.
I think the bigger issue, this is Scott, the bigger issue isn't necessarily just people coming to get the documents. The client also has to have the documents to the town hall 15 days prior to the hearing so people can look at them. And if they can't get them to the town hall 15 days prior, then our ad that we put in the paper for the hearing, the warning, is mute, and we just wasted money.
So I'm not quite sure I understand. Steve, this is Steve. I'm not quite sure I understand, Scott. I think our proposal was that the applicant would give both you and both the DRB and all the abutters all of the materials directly, both digitally and in hard copy. I'm not sure I understand the 2-week time period.
By regulation, for them to, when hearing is warned, the client only has, the information has to be in the same day that the warning is in the paper, 15 days prior to the hearing. The paperwork has to be in there and available to everybody, not just budding landowners. Everybody should be able to work. So this is where you're going to have an issue if they're just sending it out to the landowners and they're not sending it out to, or making it available to everybody, the general public. Then that's where we're going to have an issue. And I gave the example just of the new town hall. It's not just the budding landowners that are going to be interested in it. It's going to be everybody. So if only the budding landowners have the purview of the documents, it's not fulfilling the
Sure.
So,
and sorry, go ahead.
If you're requiring applicants to submit them electronically, then it can be available to the public. Anybody who requests it can just get emailed the copy. or a copy could be printed off and left at the town hall for them.
The town hall's not open.
It is by appointment, or you could just leave them in an envelope for them outside, or you just email it to them. That's
Right.
why I think you require them to do it submitted electronically.
We
So
actually never required that. So
Yeah, we haven't required it in the past. We could.
Okay, so we've drifted a little bit directly into the DRB issue, and I actually think that that's great. Can we just return quickly to the remote meeting policy? And then and see if what we've got there is going to make sense. And then we can return to the DRB. I think that's great. And thank you, Scott, and thank you, Curtis, for your comments.
Steve, could you scroll down to the bottom?
I can?
I was just going to propose that we take out "we feel."
Oh, where is that?
Oh,
For
yeah.
the end of your first sentence, yeah.
Right, but it is appropriate. There you go, like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, and I did also see, you know, there's a checklist that the Vermont League of City and Towns put out for remote public meetings. You know, things, this is Mary Kate, that have things like identifying the speaker and being found by the chair. You know, I think probably best not to maybe get into the weeds too much, but make sure that all the boards have that available.
So this is Steve. Are you, I haven't had a chance to review that checklist. I knew that they were probably working on something like that. Should we defer this and just use the VLCT checklist?
No, the checklist more goes into sort of, you know, some of it's covered in here, but it also goes into more
Etiquette.
specific and yet not as specific. Yeah, it goes into etiquette. How do you, you know, run the meeting? So a lot has to do with that. It also doesn't set out the statutory requirements. It more says, this is how you're going to run it. And if you run it that way, then you will comply with the statutory requirements. So I think just to make that available, make sure everybody's aware of it.
Okay, thank you. This is Steve again. Sorry, please.
Okay, well, I had a long list of stuff and you had that I sent just to you, and you had responded to the second one I sent, but not the first one.
Oh, sorry.
Looking at the, and I got too many documents open at once here trying to figure out where everything is, but so I can go through by the point numbers that are in your thing, or however you want to go through it.
That would be great.
So item number 1, the first sentence, oh shoot, when you do that, that pops me into full screen mode and I lose everything I'm looking at. There we go. When meeting electronically, a public body must use technology. So you switch that one. Then you say that minimum remote access should include both internet, cell phones, and landlines, which goes beyond what the state requires. The state says, where did it go? Second sentence. Whenever feasible, public access must be allowed by telephone. So we could be more restrictive than the state if we want to. I'm just raising the concern that puts you in a situation where if there are meetings where you need electronic access to documents to discuss them, or where Zoom or whoever runs out of telephone capacity, which has happened to me for a work meeting, you're basically forcing the cancellation of the meeting where the state says you don't have to.
I have some proposed language. This is Mary Kate.
Please.
This will just kind of follow the statute. Where, let's see. Whenever meeting, oh, wait a sec. Yeah, whenever meeting electronically, the public body must use technology that allows the public to attend electronically or by other means, and then say whenever feasible, and list those other things whenever feasible.
Yeah, that's whenever feasible is the states, you must allow it electronically, and whenever feasible is how they refer to telephone.
Yeah, but we could, if we want to be more.
Yeah, there might be other ways we do too, other than telephone. Yeah,
we could be more inclusive and have what you have here.
How's that?
Both. Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
So item 2, I'm flipping back and forth between my comments and what you may have already included this. Oh yeah, you did. You already did my comment on item 2, which was that you could add documents on the fly at the chair's discretion. So if somebody needs to modify a document, you don't have to say, oh, it wasn't available however much before the meeting. So that one's already in there. So I guess you did get these.
Steve, on number 2, what if we also add whenever feasible, they'll be available prior to the meeting? Because we're not required to make them available prior to the meeting. They're required to be available at the meeting. I think, for the DRB, they're gonna need for them to be available beforehand, but,
Well, Mary Kate, it says should be, which I think probably covers what I think you're asking.
Yeah, and I think an individual committee should have the, they can add to this. Like if the DRB has a statutory requirement of 15 days, then that for a DRB, for them, that becomes a must, not a should.
anything else on this?
I don't think so. I guess it's really, this is only going to act as sort of a guideline for other boards and committees to try and make sure that to the extent that they possibly can, that they include the public in these remote meetings. So I guess I would entertain a motion to approve this policy as amended.
This is John, I'll move.
And I second it. This is Paul Lowe.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And opposed and abstentions. All right, so we'll thank you for that. I'll put it up on the website. I'll pass it around to other committees. All right, doing that. Let's back into the DRB and It's not really, it's not like we can force the DRB to hold meetings. That's not really where we're at. What I'd like to do is problem solve and see if there's a way that the DRB can hold meetings, and you know, that the remote policy, remote meeting policy was part of that. But if there's other things that we should do or other problems, then let's talk them out.
So I guess the first question is, does everybody on the DRB have the ability to connect through like a video chat or something if they need to? If they're going to considering things like that.
The only one I don't know about Phil.
I don't think Chris or Phil are going to be able to do it.
Ah,
This is Curtis. I'd have to hijack one of my kids' computers, and I'm thinking there would be enough background noise anywhere in my house to make it very unprofessional.
So Mary Kay, Curtis, you're sounding pretty good now.
I'm at the barn.
Well, that you can hold it there.
Well, if my cell phone worked, you know, I mean, this is Curtis again. The last half of the meeting, I was able to hear Mary Kate quite well. I couldn't hear only every third or fourth word in the beginning. From being somebody who's not visual in this meeting, it's extremely discouraging. It's like being at a restaurant hearing a conversation at a different table. I don't have any information in front of me, nor do I need any for this meeting. But if I was a townsperson, you know, I would be extremely discouraged. And probably the worst one for this whole would be the town hall, because of the number of people that may be intending to be involved. We have enough difficulty with large groups in person. And as I mentioned in the email I sent Steve and Betsy, I'm assuming got forwarded through, is we maxed out our 10 people last time, and it wasn't even really contested. So my concern is, when you have a lot of public input and it sounds shady when, if people can't visually see something that in the past they could come, they could get a copy made, they could review it. Now somebody will have to request this X number of days ahead of time. If the clerk sent out a, I wouldn't call it press release, but a warning in the paper stating the information is here. If you'd like to get it, these are the channels you have to use. You'd have to send that out far enough in advance to make sure everything can be done correctly, that if somebody wanted this information, they would be able to have access to it the 15 days prior. So the warning would now stretch you even longer, because you'd want to make sure that if some guy all of a sudden couldn't get the information until 10 days prior, now you're not necessarily in compliance.
so can I ask a question, Curtis? This is John. Why would you even advertise? Why would you even warn it until you had the information available?
We
So
don't.
if somebody,
I don't warn it until I have a completed application.
Right. I'm gonna let Betsy answer that, because she's got the exact answer.
So what are you concerned about, John? This is Betsy.
Well, he was saying if, you know, if you're going to, got to warn it 15 days ahead, and what if the information's not available? If you don't warn it until the information is available, that would seem to answer it.
Right.
That
I don't
problem.
warn it until the information I know is at town hall and
Yeah.
available.
So that
I thought I
you know,
heard Curtis say something about somebody requesting it, say 10 days out. It just has to be there 15 days in advance. So if
Yeah.
somebody wants to request it 2 days before the hearing, that's fine. It meets the statute.
Yeah.
The statute, as long as it's there 15 days ahead of time, or wherever we say it is.
and is it not possible to just require people, if you want your project heard, you've got to submit it electronically? So that then somebody requests it, you can just, at least 99% of them, you're going to be able to just email it to them.
We don't require it now. I don't know. Can we just require that on the fly, or would we have to? I guess this is just a question to everybody. Would we have to amend the DRB's policies?
The planning board would have to do that, but I think in this circumstance, we can just do a quick, you know, just a, hey, you know, with the issues that we have going on, send an electronic copy and a hard copy. So there's one at the town hall if somebody wants to make copies. The issue you're gonna have with that is some of them, like the one we just did last meeting, it was pretty big. You're not gonna email that. It's huge.
That's true. It
If you
was
can
really big.
email it, then it's gonna be zipped, and some people may not know how to unzip everything.
Well, we could set up a Dropbox or something where because there is a file limit for email, but if you could also send them a link to here's where you download the file or something.
Yeah,
And
or
it
even
may-
not sorry, John, go ahead.
I was just saying, it may be that some projects are just too complex and you just say, sorry, we can't handle it till we can meet live. But are there some that we could consider, you know, start off with a simple one and see how it works, and then decide how much more complex you can get from there.
This is Curtis. In a different aspect, I would agree with you. I mean, you would definitely want to start on something simple. But you got to remember is when you're cutting land and you're giving people rights to do stuff with their land, or the ability to do something they should already have the right to do, to say yours is too complex, you're gonna have to wait. But your neighbor who wants to do something simple, we're gonna allow it. You're not setting a precedent, but you're definitely opening yourself up for some real animosity between people saying, how come we heard the town hall's conditional use, but my 2 or 3 lot subdivision couldn't be heard? This seems like conflict of interest. You know.
Yeah, I don't think you can prioritize based on the size. Either we do it or we don't. But I do have concerns about, you know, who knows how long it's going to be like this. I think we have to figure out a way to do business that, you know, in what we have now, because it may not change for quite some time, and we can't just not allow people to move forward if it's feasible. You know, Dropbox, they don't necessarily have to download things, that they can just access it there. So, you know, what else do they need besides that? I guess people need to be able to, I mean, typically they just come in and get copies, or they come in and look at it.
Both. This is Betsy. Both. A lot of times they'll come in and just if I'm there, ask questions, and then I'll give them copies if they want it. Chris Purley would probably be a better person to talk to about that, because he's there way more than I am. But that's generally how it works.
So this is Mary Kate again. If they're requesting copies, are they requesting copies of a big whole package?
Sometimes, I mean, usually our applications aren't that big, honestly. But yeah, sometimes, or sometimes they'll just look through and say, I'll take a copy of this or that. Not necessarily the whole thing every time.
This is Jamie. So it seems like if we have electronic version of it that we can email or post to a Dropbox or whatever, that would solve most situations. And then it's really just a matter of, do we have the ability to perhaps digitize the application if the applicant doesn't? I would think so in some form. And then, if somebody does need it sent through the mail, just making sure there's enough lead time. And maybe that means the hearing's got to be pushed out a little further. Or maybe it doesn't.
This is Betsy. I don't think that, I think the statute, and Mary Kate, maybe you can double check this, just say that the information has to be available, 15 days ahead of the meeting. So if somebody requested it via mail on that first, day of the 15 days, it still meets statute if we mail it that day and they get it a few days later. That's my understanding of it.
I mean, Miss Mary Kate, the other thing is we could create something on the town website and have a link. Then it would be available. Whoever wants it can go there and download the link.
Yeah.
This is Betsy again. So that kind of just brings up to it, like, something I wanted to bring up, and that's the issue of equity, because not everybody, as we know in town, has internet access. So we have to figure that part out. There are people out there that do have internet access, but there's no way they would be able to figure out how to use Zoom, like my mother, for example. And yes, you can call in, like you said, but is there a local number? If somebody's calling on a landline, those are long distance numbers, I believe, that are out there. So there's just that equity question. I have no problem with this technology now that I've been using it for work. It's great. And I have no problem with it, but I just worry about the big picture with equity. Yeah. And I'm hoping, and let's just think ahead a little bit. I'm wondering, and it's something, I don't know, Curtis and Scott, you guys would have to talk about, if we could consider warning the town hall conditional use for May 24th. The governor, gave us May 15th as the next, stay-at-home order. I'm fingers crossed, hoping there'll be some easing out by that point, and maybe we would be able to, maybe it would be easier and somebody would be able to be at town hall if anybody wanted to go. Just a thought. And then there's the extra expense, put it on the applicant for mailing, hard copies of everything. That was just my other concern too.
This is Curtis. I don't feel that, granted none of the people involved have anything to do with the situation, but when you all of a sudden you have set fees which are all published, to tell the applicant that they have to hard copy mail things isn't fair. So I think the town is going to have to eat that and produce that option. They're going to physically have to do it themselves, because everything that all the fees, everything else is already in the books. Where if somebody wants a hard copy, I think the town is just going to have to pay that postage and do the physical work themselves to get it there. And I agree with Betsy, is pushing it out to the end of May is really not unrealistic. I think all your construction guys, there's so much infrastructure shut down right now that nothing's on time anyways. And risking somebody screaming conflict interest that we, after already saying that we were shutting down, open back up just to hear the town hall. Seems like we could be asking for trouble.
So I think we'd probably beat this horse as dead as we're probably going to. I certainly hear Curtis's being a second-rate citizen without the video. Certainly makes sense to me.
This is Betsy. I just wanted to add to Curtis saying that at work, I work for the city of South Burlington, and they are holding DRB meetings electronically. And so we did a bunch of mock ones. And I got to be the neighbor who called in on the phone, and it was so difficult to follow. I just need to say that. I agree with Curtis on that part, not being able to see anything.
Steve, can I ask one question before
Please.
we move on from this?
Yeah.
Because it may be something we want to, this is John, maybe something we want to research, or maybe you guys on the DRB already know this, but are there legal repercussions if somebody applies and we just simply don't hold a hearing within a certain amount of time? I mean, can they say, oh, it's automatically approved because you didn't answer for 2 months?
There
I
is
don't-
something in the books. You have, but if they send in an application and we do not respond within a certain amount of time, it is automatically approved.
That's a problem.
Yep.
Well, my understand, this is Curtis, my understanding is we have so many days to respond with a decision from the point that the hearing's been closed.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
And so once the hearing is closed, so if we have something open right now, that next step, if it pushes out far enough, you know, if the hearing was finished and everything was already submitted and whatnot, and we were going to deliberate, a lot of times we make the decision that night when everybody's there. But if we feel it's large enough where we have to have extra meetings or more time for us as a board to come to a conclusion, that clock starts at the closing of that evidentiary hearing.
Yeah, 45 days. This is Betsy. I'm not sure there's anything that says about when an application is actually handed in. I'm unsure about that. I would say there isn't.
This is
I can call,
No,
I
it
can
does.
call VLCT to ask if it's
Yeah.
worth. That was the big concern, is if the clock's running from the time, if some clock is running, maybe a different one than the close of hearing clock. If there's some clock that starts running from the time they submit the application, I'd sure hate for somebody to get a default yes,
Yeah.
because
the reason, this is Scott again. When the VLC came to the town hall a couple years ago, that was
Yeah.
one of the things that the guy mentioned, is that you do have an obligation to respond, and if you don't, by virtue, it's good to go, even on just an application admission.
This is Paul. That's correct. But I've done a number of just DRBs in the city of Burlington, and they have the right to postpone these with notification, right? So there doesn't have to be any decision made regardless of the timeline. So that can be postponed with just notification. So I think that pushes the clock forward, pushes that timeline further out. I've gone through it. I've been pushed out a number of times.
so it may be necessary to hold a meeting just to say we're going to postpone consideration.
Yes, you have to do that.
That could be a telephone meeting where you just say, we've received this, we're going to postpone it till blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and I thank the members of the DRB who, called in, zoomed in, what have you, to sort of not kick this ball around. It's a complicated subject. It's definitely your guys' call. Yeah, see how it works out. I hear Curtis's stuff in particular about being on the phone. Even if we deliver hard copies to people, it's still pretty tough. Okay. If there's nothing else on this particular topic, I was going to go to the next order of business. Okay. The next order of business is reviewing appointments. And Charles Johnson has been nice enough to actually, Scott or Curtis, I don't know if you know Charles Johnson or not, but he expressed an interest in getting on the DRB. He's a licensed, he's a professional engineer. And as such brings a level of expertise some of us may or may not have. Anyway, the select board asked if he couldn't join us, and there he is. And I'll stop sharing, and then we can go the other way. Here we go. Stop share. Yeah, and I'll go to speaker view. Charles, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. So if we were, it's not often that we get somebody to just show up and say, hey, I'm interested in being on the DRB. So if you could fill us in a little bit about your professional qualifications and why you want to be on the DRB, that'd be great.
Sure. I graduated from Mount Abe in 2010 and then went to Rensselaer Polytechnic for 4 years. And then I've been working as a civil engineer in Vermont for 6 years. Recently registered professional engineer in Vermont and in New Hampshire. Worked in a wide range of work from public works engineering to currently I'm working on dams for the federal government. I was interested in joining the DRB a few years ago, and then I got sidetracked with work, but now I'm kind of in an office position rather than doing construction management and inspection. And I went to the last town meeting day, and I found out it was pretty interesting. And I've always just wanted to be involved with the town, so I saw your ad and I reached out.
Awesome. Are there questions from the board, or I'd entertain members of the DRB as well?
This is Scott from DRB. Do we know what's going on with Peter?
So I reached out to Peter today. I've been trying to get a hold of him for a while. I should have brought my cell phone in. We texted back and forth. He basically said he's got some health issues and is having to travel back and forth from Boston on a fairly regular basis. And the way we left it with Peter Close is he was willing to serve, but if there was a strong candidate, he'd also be willing to step aside.
Okay, because that would be the only slot that I can think of right now that could be vacant.
I'm up. I reapplied, but I'm up this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only reason I applied was I saw there was 2 positions available. I realized like the board and the zoning administrator were being filled, but I saw there's 2 spots available for DRB, so that's why I put my name in.
This is Betsy. I love Peter, but I really don't think we will see him much. That's just my feeling. So I'd be okay with having Charles take Peter's spot.
Okay,
This is Curtis.
Curtis, thank you.
Steve, are you aware of? Is there 2 spots available?
John, this is a question for you.
Yeah, I can. Both Peter's and Curtis's spots are expiring. So there's not an open position where. And Charles, just for your information, we advertise every position when it's expiring, whether the incumbent's interested or not, so that the public has the opportunity to say, hey, I'd like to do this. So we do have those 2 slots expiring, and I think I'm with Betsy on this one, that Peter's got a lot to deal with, and we can always put him back on when his health issues are resolved or something. And,
Okay.
I'm okay with that. I guess we could leave it up to the select board to decide on that one.
Yep. And Charles has not been to one of your meetings. He's been to other DRB meetings. But... All right. Okay.
and Steve, are we going to go through the whole list and then
Well,
vote at the end? Or?
I would intend to, but I'd kind of like to resolve Charles so he doesn't have to sit here. He's already sat here for
Yeah.
over an hour waiting for us to get around to him.
I'll make a motion to appoint Charles to the DRB.
That was Mary Kate.
Yes.
Yep, Mary
Aye,
Kate.
second.
John, I'll
Nice.
second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second on the floor to appoint Charles Johnson to the DRB in Peter Close's slot. Is that the motion?
Yes, thanks.
You're welcome.
Who seconded that?
John
Joe.
McNerney.
Yeah, no.
Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And opposed? And abstentions. So Charles, the good news, I've got good news and bad news. Anyway, thank you very much for being willing to step up. The DRB is it's a tough board. You already know how those things work.
Yep.
Look out for Betsy because she's looking for help on the recording clerk side of it.
It always goes to the newest member.
Well,
You can add that to your office work, Charles.
Yeah.
I'll do it for one more year, but then I think I'm going full time at work and I won't be able to do it anymore. That's the deal.
You're welcome, Charles.
So,
Interesting.
Charles, we're obviously on hiatus right now, the DRB. So, can you get Steve can you add him to the DRB distribution list?
I will. He also needs to do a couple of other official type things. He needs to get sworn in by the town clerk, which is
Oh, right.
in current circumstances a little hard to do, but Charles, you should get that done before your first official meeting. Do you guys make some money based on a per meeting cost or not? You guys get-
$10 per meeting.
Yeah, they
Big pay.
spend it all in one
Okay.
place. You'll need to sign a W-4 or whatever the heck it is.
The clerk gets paid though if you want to make more money.
There you go.
It's not,
There, yeah,
not a
there
selling
is
point there.
there is a new statute for affirmations that can be done remotely. I don't know if Sharon's set up to do that or not, but there is a provision to allow for that. So if it becomes an issue, I can help Sharon with that.
Awesome. Thank you very
So
much.
stay tuned, Charles. I think, we're going to talk about maybe scheduling May 24th for our next meeting.
Yep.
It's not obviously official yet, but put it on your calendar.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Charles. Awesome. John, can we go through the
Yeah. So first thing I want to ask Betsy, I emailed you just a bit before the meeting my
Yep.
current list of who said what, thinking it might make it easier for you. So you don't have to write down all the names and everything, but.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah, I'll just add it. I haven't added them in yet, so I'll do it after.
Yeah. So
John, do you
Steve,
wanna
can I
share your
share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm not sure where I find that. Oh, there it
Click
is.
on the
Yep,
bottom.
bottom of my. Yeah. Share screen. Yeah, it's going to take me a while. Zoom. Zoom will not be able to record. Okay. Don't care. So there we go. So I think that's letting me, I think that just set me up so I should be able to now. Desktop, share.
There you go. Nice job.
So,
Sorry, I just spilled water.
you see that?
Myself.
Let me try to make the text a little bigger too. Okay. So Most of this is the same as on the directory of town officials. There's an added column E for whoever expressed an interest in a position or said they were willing to be reappointed. First one is Chris Purley for zoning administrator, who's agreed to a reappointment. And Betsy, I'll send you a copy where I've put in all the new terms in here. So, but it's a 3-year term starting now. The next one is Curtis Lane for Development Review Board. And you see, I already entered Charles in there. In Planning Commission, that's an elected one, but we have to deal with that one later. John Brace, I have not been able to reach, so that e-bounced I keep getting, that's not a valid email for Recreation Committee, so I have no idea what his status is.
He's grumpy in the extreme and wants nothing to do with the town, I believe.
Okay. So should I just put that as a no for now, or?
Yeah, I'd put that as a no for now.
Yeah.
Okay. And Paul Lowe, who's here, can speak for himself.
And what would you like me to say?
Well, you had said you were willing to reappointment on the rec committee.
Yes, I think I found that I've got a lot of value to that program, and I think that they miss me.
Yeah.
I did leave a little prematurely because I had some personal employment opportunities that were just way over the top of my head, and I couldn't follow through. And I didn't think that I was going to be able to manage it based on this workload that I had. Well, things have changed. That those workloads disappeared. So
yeah.
I feel I want to go back to and work with the committee again.
Okay. And the next one was 911 coordinator. We discussed this at a previous meeting. Hadn't heard from Chris, but I guess Steve, you said you have heard from him that he's willing to do 911 coordinator.
Yep, and it's been Chris Purley and Betsy both have suggested that it's really a much better way to get the job done.
Okay. So for now, I'm putting his name in for Diane's. I'll update the term later.
Yep.
Emergency Management Director, I haven't heard anything from the incumbent there. I'm assuming he's still hoping somebody else will step up.
I am.
So we're gonna leave that one open at this point, or are we going to appoint you, or what are we?
You better.
I don't think anybody else here is stepping up.
I think Scott could do it.
Is he still on?
He is, but it's okay. I'll go ahead and appoint me. Unless Curtis wants it.
Is Curtis on?
Curtis is on. In fact, he's also careful what he says at this point.
Yeah.
I've got too many titles and too many people after me at the moment.
I knew that.
Definitely.
So the next one I have is Ann Miller, who said yes for Conservation Commission. We have an open Conservation Commission slot, and then Ian Smiley said he is not interested in reappointment for his expiring term. So we'll have Ann, we'll have 2 open slots on Conservation Commission. Next one's delegates to Addison County Regional Planning. Steve Pilcher and Wendy Sue Harper, the current reps, both said yes. John Brace is the alternate. Should I put him as a no, Steve?
He's definitely a no. John, did we advertise those positions? They're generally not appointed till June.
They were on my list I sent to Sharon. It would take me a little digging to see if they were actually advertised.
It's all right.
Every other year, Addison County tells us do it when you do everything else, and then the next year they say no, wait till June or whatever. And
why don't we do it now?
I think my recommendation was we go ahead and advertise them.
So this is Betsy.
Do we want to table those, or?
Well, what does the alternate have to do, Steve?
Oh, Addison County Regional Planning meets once a month.
Yeah.
You'd be allowed to vote in the circumstances where one of either myself or Wendy Sue was not present at the meeting.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. It's there are very few, if any, contentious items at Addison County Regional Planning. What it really lets you do, Addison County Regional Planning is actually where they're sort of the conduit for a lot of grants that come through from the state. So being on Addison County Regional Planning gives you some heads up on grants, gets you into the pipeline, and they have a lot of breakout meetings that have a substantial amount of power. The Act 250 Committee, the Energy Committee. I'm currently serving as vice chair for the executive board. Anyway, there you go.
Okay. I'm just thinking about it.
All right.
I was trying to see if I could find, it's going to take me too long to find if that was
Don't worry
actually
about it.
advertised.
Don't worry about it.
I'll worry about it later. Transportation Advisory Committee, we have one open. Steve's the incumbent. Usually that's a rep to the Addison County Regional Planning.
Yeah, it used to be Thea,
Yeah.
and she was great.
Are we leaving those open for now till we see?
You can appoint me as the alternate, and we
Okay.
just hope that we'll find somebody who wants to step up to the task.
Yeah, okay. Solid Waste Management District, we took care of last time. Energy Committee, we had two open, one expiring now. I have not heard back. I've made multiple attempts to get in touch with Lee. Have not heard back from him on that.
Okay.
So nothing on there.
Yeah.
ANAC, we had two expiring, Jamie Schulte and Laura Farrell, who both said yes to reappointment. We do have an alternate position that's open and has been open for quite some time. So I'm told that we'll be getting application from somebody who's interested in that in the near future. So just didn't receive it before this meeting. Recycling Coordinator, Jessica said yes to reappointment. Tree Warden, Mark Bolts Robinson, I don't know if Mark's still on, but he said yes to reappointment.
Still here. Still crazy.
Animal
He's on
Control,
bonus.
was that Mark?
I said I'm still here and still crazy enough to do 3 things.
Okay. Animal Control, I never got any response to the email. I don't know what her status is. Do you know, Steve? Alexandra Dalton?
I do not.
Okay. Our answering machine still says Melanie Pizer when you call the number.
And still on the website is it's Melanie. At least it was a week.
It's not.
Okay.
I fixed it. Finally.
I can
So that
email
one's-
Sandra if you want. I know her.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, if you can touch base and see what's up with that. We've had somebody actually posted on the Moncton Facebook page that we don't have one now, which was kind of news to me. It depends on what Alexandra says, but Green Up Chelsea said no, so we're looking for somebody there.
We're not. They've delayed Green Up Day, so.
Yeah, and Webmaster Ian Schultze said yes.
Yeah.
So I guess we could, do I need to read through all the names, or do you just want to adopt the slate of all those who said yes?
I would ask for the second one.
Okay, well, I'll move that we adopt the slate of all of those just listed.
I second that.
And is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the slate of all those candidates who have indicated that that we have listed as being yes, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed and abstentions. All right, so we finally managed to get most of that done. Oh, it's my turn again. Yahoo. Let's see, I was doing it this way. Yes, I was doing it that way. And let me get rid of this. Select the window. That's what I did. Share. Okay. There we go. I'm back there. We're at the procurement policy. Wonder where the hell I've got the, oh, there's the procurement policy right there. Draft purchasing policy. So the draft purchasing policy, we've already been through it once. We've looked at it, and it is basically, we were happy with it. This is my, tell me if I'm wrong. We were basically happy, but we were discussing the amounts. And if you guys will close your eyes, I'll sit down to where the amounts are. And okay.
Yeah, 10,000.
So we have the lower end amount being set to $5,000. And the question was, to some extent, and I'm going to throw one over here so you can see it. This is the detailed transactions for the highway department from last year. And, you know, there's numerous instances where he went out and bought $8,000, $10,000, $5,000 worth of gravel. So, and you know, there's a bunch of things that the highway department buys that are, they're not really procurement things. They're kind of like supplies. They're gravel, salt, sand. I just don't know how to put them correctly in the policy.
We could designate certain types of things as well, in a business you might call it an open purchase order. It's not quite what we're doing here, but consider pre-approved any purchase of gravel, and it's his responsibility to stay within budget. If he needs to go over budget, he's got to talk to somebody.
So we have a place down further where we talk about not bids, all this nonsense. Exceptions. So we could put that into the exceptions clause of the policy.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose the other thing we could do is the select board could just make a motion to approve the budget for his gravel purchases at the beginning of the year and then let him run with that.
Well, that's essentially what the town does anyway.
Yeah.
All right. I just don't, because I have no interest in him having to come to the select board and say, hey, I'm going to spend $5,000 on gravel.
So
Yeah.
do we want to give him a blanket permission for things like gravel and whatever else might be a similar thing? Or do you want to handle that each year and just say we approve this? You know, we could do one vote, or we could say you can go over with the approval of the chair or the vice chair.
Yeah.
What about an emergency truck repair that's $7,000? Something like that.
Well, I think for over $5,000, my understanding, I think he just needs to get approval of two select persons.
Okay.
Is that up to some limit?
10.
10.
Okay.
Well, you're talking about emergency purchases here. There's no value put in that paragraph.
Yeah. Yep. There is.
But that also says the select board may. That wouldn't let Ben do it. So I guess if it's a big emergency purchase, we'd call a special meeting and approve it.
So what's really going on is that for that gravel and sand, those are reoccurring purchases. But he doesn't, maybe some of you are more savvy than I am. He doesn't go and grab gravel from, sometimes it's from Middlebury and sometimes it's from Heinsberg and sometimes it's from Pike. And I would guess it's whoever has the cheapest price of the day. I want to make sure that we don't,
Yeah.
beat him up.
So we may need to tweak that recurring purchases that gives him, right now it says the select board approves a bid that's approved until further notice, but we may want to tweak that to give him, the authority to buy from who he deems best. And that could be price or it could be availability. Like if we're looking at salt, when there's a salt shortage, it may be whoever the hell has it.
Yeah, exactly. So, recurring, if the total value of a recurring purchase is going to
Am I missing something, or does that not say what happens if it's less than 50,000?
I'm not very good at contract language.
Says,
It's real.
no, I think you're right, John. I mean, it's just anticipated to exceed, doesn't say anything less.
Well,
So
But this is on a bid basis. This doesn't really look like it applies to the issue of gravel, which is arbitrary in a sense of when he needs it for a specific job. He would actually have to put out an incredible plan to determine the amount of gravel he needs for a year. So I'm assuming he's got to stick to his budget, and I guess he would probably have to persuade us to go over that budget if there's a reason for it. But there's nothing here that does anything like that.
No, I mean, I sort of think of gravel as like some sort of commodity purchase.
What
Is
about
his gravel over the years 50,000? Over 50,000 a year?
It
The
is.
gravel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we should do something specific for gravel,
we could do a
because
pre-approved purchases or something?
something like what we have. Yeah, just do add an exception for gravel.
Yeah, gravel, salt, and sand is what I
Yeah.
mean. Right?
Yeah.
Salt was 59 grand, and winter sand was 34.
So we just say that gravel, salt, and sand are considered pre-approved as long as he's within his budget. Something that's going over budget may require.
Well, can you scroll back up to the
Exceptions?
now the different numbers for what we do.
Oh.
All right. Yep. Okay, good. Minor purchases are 5 to 10. Do we need to change the 5 to 10?
Or just say that ongoing materials purchases such as sand, salt, and gravel are exempt from this as long as they fall within the yearly budget.
I agree with
That's
that.
what I was
Yeah.
gonna do.
Can you just send me that text when you get a chance, Bill?
Oh,
Sure.
okay, great.
Will do.
Okay, good. Because I thought, yes?
Good. So I'm assuming that's all set. I'm just wondering whether the other, besides the gravel, salt, and sand, were there any other issues in terms of the $5,000 to $10,000? Over $10,000. Do we need to tweak those numbers for other things, or?
The deal is we can change it as we want. It's just a policy. So if it becomes onerous for the highway department, we'll just, at a meeting, we'll just change it.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome. Great. So I guess what I would do is entertain a motion to approve the draft purchasing policy as amended. And I'll just, we'll just put in the text that Bill will send.
I'll make that motion. I move to approve the draft purchasing policy as amended.
Second,
All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And opposed and abstentions. All right. Thanks, guys.
I apologize. Who seconded that? Bill?
Bill,
Bill. Okay, thanks.
Oh, here we go. So, so we have, we're pushing along on the new town offices and library. We have, we got Naylor and Breen to be our construction manager. And then as part of that, Naylor and Breen has did a request for quote from both a design build on mechanical and a design build on electrical. So those design builds have a design component. And I was wondering when this was all happening, I was like, oh, well, that's nice. But if everything goes sideways and we never do build the new town offices and library, who's responsible for those design expenses? And the answer is, well, Naylor and Breen has asked for a change order that reflects the expenses that are anticipated in doing the design of the mechanical and the electrical. I will tell you that as soon as we give the okay, they will sign those contracts. They'll sign them just for design purposes. I'll also tell you that the electrical contractor, the design was awarded to RVG.
oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So that part of what we were trying to get done seems to be working. I'll also tell you that the mechanical bid that came in is some $50,000 under sort of what our budget is. So that was good too. So both of those were pluses. But at the end of the day, the pre-construction costs for the new town offices and library have gone up from a guaranteed maximum price of $4,500 up to a guaranteed maximum price included in this tax of almost $23,000. So I'll also tell you that when we did that that resolution early on, the declaration of intention, what that means is that as soon as we get the bond, we can be reimbursed for not these charges will get rolled into the bond money.
So Steve, this is basically, we're paying it now instead of later.
That's true because they're doing design work. Yes, we'll be responsible for this.
Now,
So-
but
so
it
that-
was in the contract to be, so it was part of the stuff that was in the contract to be paid under the bond later previously. They're just moving it from us paying it later to us paying it now by this change order.
Sure, I guess that's one way of putting it. That's a fair statement, I think.
The timing change.
Yeah, it's because there's design work that's happening that's independent of the actual construction, and somebody has to be willing to pay that, and they're really doing that on behalf of the town, so the town is responsible for doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
So
But
it's not a new
previously, it's in our
expense.
budget. It was in our budget. It's in our budget.
Yeah, I mean, the budget for the town hall is still is under budget currently.
Yeah.
Um, But and this has some issues that I need to take, that I need to make sure that I keep the treasurer and assistant treasurer on board. We may need a bond anticipation note. Our $100,000 of municipal building fund, we were already pretty close in terms of what the architect was going to charge us between now and August 1st, when we really get our first draft of money. And now this is going to put us over. So we'll be in the market for short-term financing. Anyway.
What, any sense of that dollar amount at this point?
So I don't know. Some of that's a question for Bill. In terms of us, yeah, it might be as much as $60,000. The town, of course, also, because of the way we do our financing, right? We pass a budget in January, gets voted on in March, and we don't collect taxes until November. So as a result, we often run short of cash right around in this time period where I'm going to be spending hard. So I suspect the town's going to ask for a tax anticipation note, and maybe we should just do them both together. I just don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna let Bill and Kathy duke that one out. So I guess I would entertain a motion to sign the change order. The change order. How does this read here? The Naylor and Breen change order 1 for an additional $18,453.76.
So moved.
I'll second this, John.
Okay.
OP1.
Yep. That makes sense to you, Paul?
A change order, now, my opinion is, and this is where I think a change order doesn't necessarily reflect something that was in the budget before. In my industry, when we do a change order, it means that it's an unexpected expense that adds to the value or the cost of the project.
Yeah.
So in this case, looking at that change order, with no explanation on it, I'm sort of a little curious as to the details of it. So I don't have any problem with us going ahead and voting, but I probably would abstain on that condition.
Okay. Yeah, I think what the way it reads here is extend the pre-construction services portion of the contract to include design/build proposals for pre-construction and engineering for HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. That's probably the way.
Yeah, I know, but
really
that's not a change order though, if it's part of the contract. A change order is where you're changing the scope of the project.
Right. So,
Well, but
sorry.
they are changing the contract in that they're asking this to be included in pre-construction rather than originally it was included in a later portion.
Right. And that's fine, except that I don't see that in the wording.
No.
So I guess I mean, when I see a document, it spells out what those circumstances are. I mean, it's like you can't. I think you have to have a little bit more background to, Steve, maybe you have that and I don't see it. So if you're sure that's what it is, then that's fine. But
Yeah. No,
I'm
that's,
just looking at the document. That's all.
no, that's fine. And what's not here and what you don't see is that this is all part of part one, the pre-construction contract with Naylor and Breen. At the end of pre-construction, Naylor and Breen's going to come back to us with part two. And that's going to be, okay, I've got all the subs set up. They're willing to build for this price. And we're ready to go. And this is the final price. And that's the contract that they're going to sign.
Okay, yeah, no, okay, that's fine. I mean, I just, again, it's sort of, the details, I like to see details.
Yeah, I get it. I can, yeah. All right.
All right,
So,
we can move on.
no, that's fine. And I guess, Betsy, in terms of the minutes, what I'd really like to do is, really, this is a change order, and that verbiage that I'm kind of pointing to on the screen,
Yep,
extend the pre-construction services,
Yep.
is how I'd like that motion to read.
okay. Portion.
You don't even need to, I don't think you need the dollar amount, but you can if you want.
Yeah, I already wrote that down.
Okay, that's great then.
HVAC. So you want
Okay,
so the motion should say, blah, blah, blah. Move to extend the pre-construction service portion of the contract to include what you just wrote.
Yep,
And I'll put
exactly
the-
so.
Okay, yep.
And so I have
all
that,
right.
that's on the floor and it's seconded. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in favor, all those opposed, nay? And abstentions. Okay, thank you very
Paul,
much.
did you vote or did you abstain?
No, I voted. I'm actually, I looked at the document and
Okay.
I'm satisfied with Steve's explanation.
Okie dokie. I think this is the next one. It is contract amendment. So Bellwether, and actually they deserve all of it, but it's okay. Bellwether is basically came back and said, we, as they say, due to pre-bond vote services that exceeded what they could have reasonably been anticipated, Bellwether's asking for an additional $10,000 in the pre-bond vote activities. So they're asking for an extra 10 grand onto their contract. Here's what I'll say about that. Architects normally get a percentage of the final build cost. Even at $104,000, they are well below what the industry standard is. Based on a build cost, a real build cost of somewhere in the 1819, they would be looking at $120,000 to $140,000. So my recommendation here is that we sign this services contract amendment. I'm certainly open to discussion if there's interest.
No, as a matter of fact, that is a fair rate because I've worked with numerous architects and none have ever worked for less than 10%.
Yeah, it's
So-
typically 8 to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right. That is actually a pretty good value in my, and I saw it before, so I don't see it.
Okay,
I'm
thank
just
you.
saying, I'm saying this for the public too.
There you go. Well, there's a quid pro quo in here. I think that we're a pretty good feather in Bellwether's cap as well.
Yeah.
So I guess I would entertain a motion then.
Looks
I
like
moved.
Paul's saying something, but I couldn't hear him.
I'm sorry.
I saw your mouth moving, but couldn't hear anything.
Must be a delay. No, I moved to approve the new service contracting amendment.
Second by Bill.
Thank you, Bill. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I
And opposed and abstentions. So as part of this, I have another one that when this change order came down and I said to them, well, when you put these change orders through, you might have to, the select board, we could be delayed by 2 or 3 weeks between the time when the select board next meets before they can really sign a change order. So I guess one of the ways around it is to designate an authorized agent for this kind of stuff, as long as we're staying within the budget. But again, I'm open on that.
Sounds like a good idea. As
Yeah.
long as we're staying within budget.
Hey, Steve,
Yes, ma'am.
we have a Sasha who just logged on that is a troll. Can you kick him off?
She's gone.
Okay, thank you.
How did you
I just
determine
got a
that?
message. They messaged me and said I had something on my nose.
Okay, nice. I can lock the meeting, I bet.
Well, you don't want to do that in case of
Can't
legitimate
do
member
that
of the
open
public.
meeting law.
That
Oh,
nasty open meeting law.
Mhm.
Okay.
Did they put a provision in to at least allow you to use the Zoom waiting room function?
They did.
That would be an alternative, because then you can just see who's attempting to get in and allow them if they're recognized. Or
So then Steve can approve them in? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
yeah, so they can't
That's a
be
good
in
idea.
until somebody clicks on OK.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
I haven't taken the Zoom bombing things to heart.
So the
yet.
real question is, Betsy, did you have something on your nose?
I know, I had to go look, do I?
Hey, you look good to me. All right. So I don't know whether under the Naylor and Breen change order that we could consider appointing that an administrator. What's the phrase I just used? I'm sorry.
agent.
Yeah.
I agree with Mary Kate. If we stay on budget, then that should make things move smoothly.
If I have no objection to that, I'm assuming if something like that comes up, you're going to email the select board to let them know what happened.
Absolutely, and it comes up at the next select board meeting. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not like it happens in the dark.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So do we need a motion to, I'm
You
assuming
would.
we designate you?
Yeah, please.
I move to designate Steve Pilcher as select board chair as our agent to review and handle change orders for the new town hall.
Naylor and Breen
Is it just Naylor and Breen?
right now.
Okay. So
You
with
say it
Naylor
again,
and-
you made a motion to what?
to designate Steve Pilcher, select board chair, as our agent to review and approve change orders with Naylor and Breen.
That'll work.
I second it.
Yeah.
And so my assumption is that wouldn't happen unless it was a timeliness issue, Steve.
Yeah, exactly. If I can bring it to this, I have no interest in.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm out on a limb already. All right. Is there? Any other discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And abstentions. Okay, that's great. Thanks, guys. I think it'll just grease the skids when it needs to be greased. And all right, new town offices and library status. I sent around, the current plans. They're actually, it's 20 or 30 pages of plans. It's 20 pages of plans. I actually went to town hall and printed them out. It's like vast amounts of stuff. A roof plan and a flooring plan, I sent them to you just so you could get an idea of how things are progressing.
Was that the compiled progress document that you sent out?
That's the one.
Okay.
That's the one. All right. Sorry, it is getting late. Let's see. I'll just tell you new town offices and other status. We got our preliminary opinion from our bond attorney that we had done everything correctly. So that's over in the bond application. There's the bond application is due on May 1st. We have most of it filled out. Yep, I'm feeling pretty good about that. It's scary as heck, but we still have, the open is what the bond market will look like come July. We will get at least a preliminary at May 1st. If there's not enough people applying for bonds, they won't go out to the bond market, and we will be left scrambling looking for other money, presumably. What is it? U.S. Rural Development money, U.S. RDA. But I have faith that we will have a decent bond market. Emergency Management Director status. I haven't done much more than what the rest of you have been doing, watching the numbers slowly tick up, hoping for the numbers to stabilize for the number of cases in Vermont and drift down. There's some indication that I haven't gotten any requests for volunteers from Bailey Lane. There is requests for volunteers from the state. I don't know if you guys get that directly or not. Have any of you seen volunteer requests from the state of Vermont?
I didn't see state. I saw, I think it was an Addison County thing or something.
There was.
Yeah.
And Bailey has made requests of individuals.
Oh, good.
On the list, she called me and asked me to make a grocery pickup for somebody, which I did. And then I've just, anytime I'm going to make a grocery thing, I just call them again and say, do you need anything else? So,
yep. Awesome. Okay, that's great. Let me skip over the budget status and let's just turn to the Vermont Gas Letter. I wrote a letter to Vermont Gas. This is regarding the frost heave on Rotax Road. I meant to send it to Renee just to get her opinion, but I didn't. Things got away from me a little bit.
So that was the one that you called Hilaire letter or something?
That's correct. So it just basically says that they need to come out and have an engineer take a look at the roads, and that they're responsible for fixing whatever it is, if it's anything more than just something minor, in coordination with Ben. Anyway, that's what I intended to say.
I have a minor suggestion. I'd defer to Mary Kate on this one, but when you ask for the engineer to investigate the road compaction and the ditching uphill of the frost heave.
Yeah.
Rather than specifying it, what you want them to investigate, that's their job. If you specify it, have you inadvertently let them off the hook for checking other things? And maybe there's a better way to just say, investigate this and fix it so it doesn't happen again or something. Let them decide what it is that needs to be investigated. And
okay, how about if I say investigate, I'll just type it sort of here, causes, including,
yeah,
and I'll sort of fill in the blanks there.
yeah.
We could ask, we would ask that an engineer investigate the root causes of the frost heave, including both the road compaction and ditching uphill, or something.
Including but not limited to.
Including, thank you. Good. We would ask that that an engineer investigate the
And is October 1st just a number that you pulled out as seeming
Just-
reasonable?
just-
or was it-
yeah, just before the next root cause,
Yeah.
including but not limited to both the road compaction and ditching uphill and frost heave. The root causes and suggest remediation.
Are we asking them to perform remediation too, or?
We are
we
suggest
leaving that?
remediation.
And take action as appropriate, or?
Yeah, there you go. Does that seem half decent? Do we want a copy of this report from the engineer?
I don't know that I need to see it, but I'm sure Renee's going to ask.
Yeah.
I think we should ask for it. That
Sure.
would be.
Yeah, right. Why not?
Yeah.
There you go. Please copy the town of Moncton on the engineer's report. Done.
Bingo.
All right. I don't think I need a motion on that. I just, but I did want a chance to have everybody take a look at it. All right. So I will save that. Oh my goodness. The select board meeting that will never end. Okay. I have a budget status report. Depending, we often, by the time we get here, we're too tired to look at it, but I can put it up there if you guys want to run through it. I think I can put it up there.
Is anything else on here something that's critical to get to, or?
I don't think so.
Okay. Certificate of highway mileage?
That was a the certificate of highway mileage. Somehow we missed it, and they just said since they didn't get something from us, that they just assumed there had been no changes. I was like, hey, that works for me.
Okay, I could swear we voted on that, but
I could swear too, and it just means it's somewhere between your
Yeah.
voting and my signing it and giving it to, somewhere between there and their offices, something like
it's not something we need to rush a approved something or other out to them on anyway.
So I
Yeah.
do have something under other business that I guess I'd like to bring up, and this is going to be in sort of in a really general sense, but the as a result of the COVID-19, the highway department is really working pretty much a reduced schedule. They don't do work where they need to sort of work together. So, most of what they're doing is just grading, and the like. They do have one individual in particular that they felt was very vulnerable to the COVID-19 virus. And as a result, that individual is not coming to work. And I'm sort of okay with that, given the circumstances. But I thought I would get a sense of the board about it.
Shouldn't he be laid off under those circumstances? I mean, I'm not trying to be, I understand that these are difficult times, but perhaps he should be technically laid off so that there's no, there won't be, under the circumstances, this is really rare, but you create a historical precedent if you don't go through a means that if the person himself feels that his life is in danger, then why I don't know how the unemployment works under these circumstances, but I think that I don't know how you can technically pay somebody who's not doing their job unless you lay them off.
Yep.
He's hourly anyway, isn't he? So he gets paid for the hours he works.
That's true.
Unless he's turning in for sick pay or vacation pay.
All right,
Did
but I mean,
did this individual decide not to come in on his own, or was he directed not to come in?
My understanding was that he was directed not to come in. So I just sort of sussed this out finally, because I was like, I don't get what's going on with these pay stubs. So that's where I'm at.
I
you
don't
mean
even
there's
recall.
absolutely, I just don't understand that there's no job that he could function in that could keep him isolated from everybody to be safe. I just find that I guess I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how Ben can't find him a job that he can be totally isolated with and still be productive in some way.
Yep. I got it.
Part of the issue might be that he might have to be the only person operating that equipment.
And I don't think he's not capable of using the grader.
Correct.
When we get into mowing season, it might be a little easier, but
Well, that's going to be a ways off.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm not looking for a decision, but
Yeah.
John,
So-
generally you're talking to, are you generally talking to Ben?
I am.
Oh, yeah, Bill? Would you?
Yes, I have been talking to him, not about this person in detail, but more about some people complaining about roads again.
Yeah, I got some of that too. I heard.
Yeah.
And actually, I had an interesting suggestion, and I'll just pass it along. It really has to do with. There are some people who are still unhappy with grading, especially on Mountain Road. I heard that from Chris Acker, and he suggested, he said Earl did it great, and Wayne and Bruce did it pretty well, and now it's not going so well. It's too flat. It's too flat, and so it gets potholes. And I'm like, yeah, you make it crowded too much, and everybody goes off the road sideways. But so yeah, I sort of wondered if I know that I wondered if Bruce would entertain doing some coaching on some of the, like, get Shane up to be a really good operator. Anyway.
On that note, everybody needs to understand that the weather conditions that we've had this year are probably the most unusual freeze-thaw events that I've ever seen over a 3-month period.
Yeah.
It tears the roads up very quickly. So it doesn't matter how well you grade the road. It's a matter of the frequency now, because the rain comes, it freezes, it thaws, the traffic does their damage, and under those circumstances when it thaws, and then all of a sudden a graded road turns into hell a week later. And usually in normal conditions, they would only be a shorter period of time. It would normally be April. We've had this April event happen for the last 90 days.
Yeah,
And
God knows.
it's hard. I can really feel bad for Ben on the circumstances, because it is a problem.
Okay, I just, so, Bill, can you talk to Ben a little bit in this,
Yeah.
about this stuff? I'm kind of towards where Paul is. It's like, if a guy's not working, he shouldn't be billing the town hours, and that we need to figure out how to make that happen. But we are in pretty special circumstances, so
Yeah.
Is he
Ben-
billing the town hours? I see him on the last payroll stub, but I don't know when he stopped working.
well, he's on the last payroll stub for 80 hours.
Yeah.
I mean,
I believe he stopped 2 weeks ago, maybe
Oh, then-
3.
well,
So then the next question would be, if he's continuing on beyond his stop date, is he turning in vacation time or sick time, either of which might be a legitimate way to continue pay?
Sure.
But at some point, he's going to run out of that. And I agree that we don't keep paying somebody just because they're staying home. There's unemployment or whatever that he can go on. But, he certainly has the option to use his vacation pay if he wants to,
Yeah.
assuming his supervisor approved it.
Yeah. And because we're not really a secure Zoom at this moment, we can't really go into executive session and stuff. But anyway, so that's as much as I want to say in a public forum about that issue, I think. All right. Is there anything else? It's now 9:00. Sorry for the late time. Is there any other business to come before the board?
I
I
just
was
have
just-
a quick, go ahead.
Steve, I said I would get you a credit card draft policy. I've just been hammered with stuff, but I'll get that before the next meeting.
Peace. Thank you.
And I had just heard from Ben about the new truck. I don't know if I guess this is more of an announcement, but I asked what the status was. He said it's in line for their finish bay. So it's on the last stage. They are just a bit behind still. I imagine we will have it next week or the week after.
Oh, shit.
bonus.
Yeah, that means that we need to have our loan ready.
Got to get the financing arranged. I was assuming somebody had already been speaking to Bill about this all along, but
I prod him about every 2 weeks on it, and he's
Okay.
prods the bank, but the bank hasn't coughed up $73,000 yet.
Yeah.
We need, so I will make sure that no matter what, we have, a 3 and a 5 year rate for us to compare at our next meeting.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, John.
So is there a chance we'd have to do a special meeting on that if they say call next week and say we're done, come pay for it, or
No.
we just say sorry, it waits for our next meeting?
Yeah, right. And,
So I had one other thing.
yes,
In looking at some of the stuff from the Vermont towns on the remote meeting, it looks like the payroll. So if we can't go just in separately to sign a payroll because it's part of our meeting. So us signing separately ahead of time on Zoom or on electronic signature seems like if you can't just go in and sign it on any day, each of us individually, then we can't really do that remotely either. So I think we're going to need to do the just sign those on as part of the agenda on that date, or in authorized signature, but it has to be part of the meeting from what and I'm happy to
Haven't
share.
haven't we been doing that all along?
Yeah.
Even before electronic meeting, that if one person signed it, Bill was okay to pay?
We
Yeah,
have.
so I'll send this with you. It's part of what we got from one of the League of City and Towns email. It's the April 9, 2020. How does payroll and other municipal bills get processed if we're not meeting? And it, basically says you must do so within the context of a duly warned open meeting. So it's part of that open meeting law where, we can't just behind the scenes sign it. Yeah, it has to be part of the open meeting.
So that means we've been doing this incorrectly all along then.
Perhaps I've since
They would
I've been
have
on the
to be-
board, we've had them at the meeting and we've been signing them at the meeting.
But my understanding, Steve, you can correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that when Bill needs to cut payroll checks, if it doesn't coincide with one of our meetings, he might call you, or a couple times he's called me and said, can you stop by the town hall and sign this so I can cut the checks?
Right, that was our policy, that he couldn't sign checks unless he had one select board signature on the warrant.
So what this says, I'll read it. It says, how does payroll work? And then it says individual members may not merely show up at the municipal office and sign pay orders at their convenience. Doing so would violate the open meeting law, which requires that whenever a majority of the members take an action or make a decision, i.e. sign an order approving payment, they must do so within the context of a duly warned open meeting. So that's kind of where I'm getting that from.
Yeah,
So I guess my question would be, is it legal for us to do a blanket authorization in the duly warned meeting to say we authorize the chair or we authorize any select board member to approve these if we've made that authorization in an open meeting?
Yeah, that's it. I don't know the answer. I would think so, but there are, signing payment orders was one of the specific statutory duties. So I'd have to, kind of look at the statute as well. But I would think we could do that.
I mean, I agree with the intent that it makes sense to do this the way they're talking about. It's going to mean rejiggering how we do stuff, because if we just hold everything till our next meeting, we're going to be late sending people's paychecks out.
Right.
Yeah.
There must be other towns that have the same issue too.
I mean, it's a transparency issue, right? So we're not just signing, oh yeah, go ahead and pay all these bills, because, who knows what we're signing, people, so.
Yeah. Well, I think the accounts payable is a little different than payroll. I mean, maybe we could authorize standard payroll as long as it's at the standard rates or something that any individual's authorized to sign off on it, but
Mary
accounts
Kate,
payable have to wait.
Yeah. Mary Kate, do you want me to consult the town attorney?
Yeah, either that or, I guess this is what the VPA says. I mean, the Vermont League of City and Town says, so I'll send you what I read, and yeah, why don't you ask the town attorney rather than looking at it.
Yep, I can do that. Thank you. Because I want to make sure I don't put you in the position of
giving legal advice. Thanks.
Exactly. So. Okay. If there's nothing else, I guess our next meeting will be April 27th at 7 o'clock. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn. John moves in the silence.
Yeah, I had my mute on.
There you go.
Second.
There you go. All right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you guys very much. That's a long meeting. We got a lot done.
Who seconded
Thanks,
it?
Steve.
Bill.
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 Hey, can I ask a quick question, Steve, for the
course.
minute?
Yeah,
You noted that RVG got the contract for electrical. Can I put that in the minutes? I assume so, right?
yeah, I think you can.
Is
Yeah.
it public knowledge yet?
I
Well, it
believe
is now, I guess.
by the time we publish it, it'll be public knowledge.
Okay, okay.
All right. Thank you,
All
guys.
right.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
Have a good
Good
evening.
night.
Guys,
It's raining cats and dogs out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll get these over to you, John, as soon as I hear from Sharon with the overweights.
Jamie,
Yeah.
check the background, by the
And
way.
I will send you that list of appointments.
You like that?
Or do you already have it?
I sent what you sent earlier. If you updated it though, right?
Well, there was one additional person. Ann Miller answered.
Okay. Yeah, I've got that. I wrote them, actually hand wrote them all down as you were doing them. So I think I'm good.
Okay. All right.
You can just double check it when I send it over.
Y'all be careful driving home in the rain. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Jamie's got his spaceship to take home.
That's
That's
right.
right.
I have a spaceship too. It's out there, but
Beam
All
me
right,
up, Scotty.
there you go.
Night.
Good night.
All right.